Hi, this is Jessica Rey, and you're listening to the FSF PopCast.
The show that realized our jokes probably weren't funny, but, we left them in anyway. Our show is brought to you by our charity sponsor, the Red Shirt Widows and Orphans Fund, which supports the Wish Upon a Teen Foundation that helps out sick kids when they need it most. And just imagine the comfort you'll give Red Shirt crewman number 2002. She'll know that when she puts on the red shirt and joins the crew of the Enterprise and their struggle against Master Org, that she didn't leave her family destitute and without hope, because the Red Shirt Widows and Orphans Fund has her back, and what's left of her Ranger helmet. All right, guys, welcome to the FSF PopCast. Our guest today is an actress, a clothing designer, and an author. Now, we'll be meeting her in person in September at the Monroe Pop Fest down in Monroe, Michigan, just south of Detroit on September 15th and 16th. Now, tickets for that event are still available on the Monroe Pop Fest website. We'll have that down in the show notes down below. So you guys are going to want to check that out. Now, as far as Jessica is concerned, you've seen her on like America's Next Top Model, General Hospital. There's been a few other shows that she's been part of. And of course, there is that whole Power Rangers Wild Force thing. Yeah, maybe that was a thing that you got to know her from. But we are very excited to introduce you, if you're not already knowing about her, to Jessica Rey. Jessica, welcome to the FSF PopCast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. This should be, for you, a moderate amount of fun. We're just going to be giggling all the time over here. So,
just so happy right now. I'm just here like.
Yes. So, hey, Jessica, one of the things that we always love to do with our guests is we love a good origin story. We're nerds. Nerds love origin stories. We like to find out the origins of our heroes and the origins of the villains that they fight and all those fun things. So, we like to look at our origin stories a little bit differently. We would like to know what got you to be the person you are sitting across the table from us. So in the story of Jessica Rey, what were your influences as a young lady that made you want to reach out to be an actor and a clothing designer as well?
Actually, when I was young, I did not want to be an actor or a clothing designer.
Even better.
I wanted to be a pediatrician because I hated my pediatrician and I thought I could just do better than her. So I always thought that I would be a doctor. And also my parents are immigrants. They came here from the Philippines. Actually, my dad is not an immigrant. I don't know what my dad is. My dad was born American, but in the Philippines. So okay. he could come here whenever he wanted. But anyway, he came here from the Philippines. He fought in the Vietnam War. And my mom also came from the Philippines, and they just came here with nothing. And so they worked their tails off and they had us kids, and they were like, you're going to go to college and you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, or I think those were the options, like a nurse, an engineer, maybe that were the kind of the options that we were just expected to be. So I just was like, okay, doctor. But then I realized, I don't like blood and all of that. So
I get that. Yeah.
I wasn't.
That would put a damper on being a doctor a little bit.
Yeah. So I didn't become a doctor. I studied business in college because I felt like I had to choose something. And so I just chose business, really. There was no desire at all. It was just like, okay, I got to choose one of these things, and it's not going to be healthcare or medicine. So I chose business, and then I graduated, and I was like, I don't want to do this. I'll just go to school some more. This is kind of an ugly story.
No, I love it.
I graduated with my degree in accounting, and I was like, I don't want to be an accountant. That's like boring. So I went to get my MBA. Actually, I applied for my JD MBA. So I took the LSAT and everything, and I was accepted for this joint degree. And then at the last minute, I was like, I don't want to do law school. I will just get my MBA. Meanwhile, I worked as an accountant at a TV production company. And that is where a person who worked there kept telling me, you must act, you must act, you must act. And I was like, leave me alone. I love my calculator and my tiny little office. And she would not leave me alone. So I agreed to go on one audition so she would leave me alone. And I went on the audition. It was for Kellogg's Raisin Bran Crunch. And I booked it. And I made so much money off of that one commercial that I pretty much paid for my grad school. And I was like, hey, this is kind of cool. I could do this again. This is back in the day when commercials would pay a lot. Now they
Sure.
don't really. But anyway, that is how I became an actress. So yeah, I didn't grow up wanting to do that. I actually was very shy, introverted, didn't have very many friends. I loved to read. I graduated with like a 4.7 GPA. I just loved school. So yeah, I mean, I guess you could call me a nerd, perhaps.
Perhaps, but yeah.
Just a little.
Just a little.
Little bit.
Yeah, just a little. But yeah, I mean, I do enjoy making people laugh. And so I love that part about acting.
Okay. So the me sitting here in my high school B plus average is going, wow, you could get a 4.7. All right. I didn't know that was a possible thing.
With like all the AP classes and I did take AP physics. And I think I took every AP class that was available. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. And when I was in college, after like the first year and a half, you have to like sort of pick your your concentration. And the counselor was like, she goes, pick anything but accounting, because it's so hard. People end up dropping out. They end up switching majors. It's a waste of time. You're not going to do it. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do accounting. So
Fair.
that is how I chose accounting, because she said I couldn't do it.
That seems to be a common trend with people who are incredibly well educated and just kind of determined to be the best. Is they just go, oh, you told me I couldn't? That's exactly what I'm going to do.
I don't know if I was even like determined to be the best. I have this like weird light shining on me right now, so I'm like trying to avoid it. I just, yeah, like I didn't like it when people would tell me I couldn't do something, like that I was, just not, that it was impossible. I was like, no, I think I'll do that. For example, no one told me that this was impossible, but last week I realized like that I needed a haircut, and I had cut my hair like a few months, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, and it was totally crooked. I don't know what I was thinking. I like put it in 2 ponytails, and I woke up and took a shower, and then I like cut it, and it was awful. And then last week I was like, I need a haircut. My hair's getting too long. I'm just going to cut it myself. And my neighbor was like, why would you do that? Like, why would you do that? And I said, I don't know. I just kind of feel like I can. So then I watched this video. I found a girl on Facebook on YouTube who kind of had hair like mine. I watched the video once and I'm like, yeah, I think I can do that. I can do it. Halfway through, I was like, what am I doing? Like, I need to just go and have someone fix this. And then I was like, no, I already started. I'm just going to keep going. And, and I did it. And my hair, like, it looks fantastic.
It's great. Yeah.
You did a fantastic job.
I saved myself like $100 or something.
There you go.
And it was just like, I think I can do it. So my daughter, last week went to her second ever gymnastics class, and I look up and I see her doing a back handspring. And I was like, kind of mad, because I was like, what are you, this is not safe. Like, what are you doing? You can break your neck. And then after class, I was like, why did you do that? And she goes, I just kind of felt like I could. And I'm like, why would you think that? And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That's like me.
Oh, because I'm your mother. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Got it.
So apple tree.
Right.
Right there. There you go.
Right. So I can't like be mad about it that my daughter, and really she's very determined. And I mean, who just
That's
says,
awesome.
oh, I think I can do a back handspring and then randomly just does it? Like, I don't know. It was weird. But
I love it. That's fantastic. I love the determination. No,
yeah, little
That's
Power
awesome.
Ranger in the making, maybe.
There you go.
Oh, speaking of Power Rangers, part of the reason for our conversation today is that we're very excited to be joining you in a few weeks at the Monroe Pop Fest on September 15th and 16th in Monroe, Michigan. Having been one of the Power Rangers since 2002, what have been some of the favorite moments from past conventions?
Oh, okay. Probably top 3 is that we had a girl come and visit us on set. I believe she came from the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And she like loved me and the Red Ranger, and we just spent all day with her. And we chatted with her and her mom, and she had like so many Power Ranger toys. She showed us pictures, and her name was Noreen. And I just was like, I'm never going to forget her, like ever. And at the last Power Morphicon in Pasadena, she came.
Oh, cool.
And she was like, I don't like her mom was like, I don't know if you remember her. And I was like, I told you. Like, yes, I remember you. And so we took pictures, we caught up, we chatted, and it was amazing because she even wrote me a letter. I kept this scrapbook when I was on the show of pictures of the kids that would come to anyone who would come to visit us and their fan mail. And she wrote us this really nice thank you card. And so I gave Noreen this like entire page in my scrapbook. And so now I was like able to add to my scrapbook, and I posted about it, and I just was so happy to see her. It was really one of the most wonderful con moments.
That's awesome. I love that story.
That's absolutely amazing. That
Noreen, if you're listening, I love
over
you.
the years that happened. That's so great.
Yeah, I mean, seriously incredible. I mean, this wasn't a con moment, but the first kid who ever came to visit us from the Make-A-Wish Foundation, I was a wreck. I mean, they had told us this kid is going to come. He has leukemia. And I was like, we're just letting you know you can like mentally prepare. And I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah, I can do this. And I was on set when he came, and I remember like they were zoomed up like real close for a shot. And I saw, the set door open like in the very back, and then I saw this like little boy wearing a blue Power Ranger suit, and I looked at him and I just like lost it. I mean,
I've been done. Yeah.
I just lost it. So they told me, they sent me to my room. They were like, go to your room. You can't be like this. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to get it together. Like, I'm going to get myself together. So I went to my room, I like cried it out, and then I came back out and we hung out all day. His name was Joseph. And I told his mom, Kara, that as soon as we wrapped the season, I was going to fly to New York and see them because I knew that he was going to make it and be okay. And so when we were done with the show, that was the first time I actually ever went to New York. I bought a ticket and met up with them. We went to the arcade, we hung out. And
so cool.
And it was wonderful. And Joseph did make it, and he's still alive. So
attaboy, Joseph.
Yeah.
That is amazing. That
is very cool.
I can't even comprehend the emotional just ordeal of being put in that situation. And then
it was a lot.
And just it all working out in the end it's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
It was such a blessing and an honor to, I mean, this is their like last and, supposedly dying wish. And for them to want to meet us, I just couldn't like wrap my mind around it, like, why us? Like, why would you want to meet us? We're gross.
I mean, that that is the power of the Power Rangers. I mean, when I was a kid, my Power Rangers were Mighty Morphing, and when I first met them at my first Comic-Con when I was almost 20 years old, I cried.
Yeah.
Fully grown adult. And those
Yeah.
were my heroes. And that's what the Power Rangers do.
I mean, it is incredible. Like, here's another quick story. Again, not a con moment, but
That's okay.
people will ask me like, oh, do you ever get recognized? And I'm like, rarely, it rarely happens. But when it has happened, I'm always shocked. Like, is someone playing a joke on me?
It's like, who paid you?
And I just don't forget it, because it doesn't happen very often. But I was in New York having dinner with some friends, and I paid, and then we left, and we're almost to the corner, and our server starts like running after us, like waving the receipt. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, was my credit card declined? I just was seriously like, I am so embarrassed right now. I don't know what's going on. And he was like screaming with the receipt, and he's like, can I have your autograph? And I was like, what? I was like,
oh, that's funny. That's
what?
awesome.
I was like, and my friends were like, okay, how much did you pay him to do this? And I was like, no, what? And he goes, I am from Peru, and I grew up watching your show, and that is how I learned how to speak English.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And he was like, I love you. And I just was like, oh my gosh, like, this is like, again, like this just crazy moment of like, what an impact our show had on people. Like, he learned English,
How cool is that?
watching our show, and he was from another country and recognized me. Crazy.
Wow.
I know.
That's a really cool story.
Well, thank you for letting me share. I rarely get to like tell people this.
Oh, we love.
Sometimes I tell myself, but
that's okay. Honestly, we'll just shut up and let you keep on with stories. These are good.
No.
We got questions, but we don't need to ask those. Just keep going.
I want to answer your questions. We
can have a 4-hour interview. I'm fine with it. I got time.
Exactly. I got time. We're fine. It's all good. Okay. All right. Since you're not going to share any more stories, I'll ask you a question. Here we go. All right. So in addition to the many things you've done on and off the screen, I saw that you also wrote a book as well called Decent Exposure.
Indeed.
Cool. I always love to make sure that I get those things right. I have before asked somebody something, they're like, no, that's the other Jessica Rey. This one, sorry, Mario, that Jessica Rey's in another castle. But now, according to Amazon and Goodreads, it's getting about a 4.2 star out of 5-star reviews. And in my book, that's a 5-star in this day and age. That's impressive to me, because anything over a 4 in the age of we're going to dump on it just because we can is very impressive. So let me ask you this. When it comes to this book, tell us about the premise of the book and, how it came to be. And do you have plans for other books?
So the book has sold out, which is wonderful. And I am working on a new revision, an updated version of it. It is a coffee table style book. So it has tons of photographs and graphics. And I made it that way because I realized that most people don't really read books these days. So I wanted to make it engaging. I'm not sure if that's an unfair characterization of most people, but the book is actually geared towards tweens, teens, and young adults. And I don't know that many in that age range actually read for fun. So that is why it's a coffee table style book. But it's a book about beauty. Because that's the age when girls start to just feel, what is the word I'm looking for? They just start to feel imperfect, particularly now with, in the age of social media and
Oh God, body image issues. Wow. Yeah.
comparing themselves to
Mm-hmm.
photoshopped and filtered
Mm.
images of an AI now.
Oof.
So it's a rough age. So
Mhm.
so the book basically talks about beauty, what that is, how we are all made beautiful, and our imperfections, our flaws are what make us unique and beautiful. And then it kind of goes from there with all of the issues that girls that age have to deal with.
No, that's great. I have my daughter's 16, and getting her through the 11 to 13 range was
Mhm.
super tough
Yeah.
because of all the body image issues. And then
Yep.
and then she had an illness on top of that, and then so there were some other things affecting all of that. But that's a rough age for young women. And uh, yeah, I mean, yeah, as a boy growing up, when I did, I mean, yeah, there was some body image stuff, and there was something, but you know what? I didn't realize the amount of pressure that young girls were under until I had a daughter in my own home, and it's ridiculous. So I think it's awesome that you have a book that addresses that and talks about those very topics.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. That's the type of thing that people need to be seeing more of, instead of seeing you have to look like this, and
Mhm.
here's the thing you have to be, and you've got somebody who's put more money into plastic in their body than they have, and somewhere else, and it's an unrealistic expectation of what people need to
Totally.
achieve. So I love the fact that you highlight the imperfections, and that those are beautiful things, and they're our differences are what make us beautiful, and that they're also what bring us together. Hopefully it
Right.
should be,
I mean, if we all
so
looked the same, that would
that'd
be
be
boring.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys would look very handsome, obviously, if y'all look like me, but
Obvious.
obviously.
I mean,
Look, it was a cheap ploy at my own, pumping up my own ego, Ben. I was just going with it. So
I'm here to keep you level, buddy.
that's right. He's my adult supervision today. So
Indeed. Okay. So you've mentioned your MBA, going into accounting, obviously your acting career, but you also have a swimwear line and your fantastic website. Oh God, I lost the thing on JessicaRey.com. I don't know how I lost that on the page here. But out of all of that, you have an even more substantial role. That's probably the greatest job ever, of raising 3 little ones. So if any of your young children or any young person watching or listening to this interview wanted to follow your example to get into acting or entrepreneurship, what would be a piece of advice that you would give them to kind of set the ball rolling?
I mean, you have to really want it, because both of those things are very hard to do. It's a lot of work. And I know that it seems like I just randomly became an actress without working at it. So I might sound like a bit of a hypocrite. But after I decided that I did want to do it. So going back to the story, I did the Kellogg's Raisin Bran Crunch commercial. And then I told the agent, like, okay, you can send me out on some more things. So I worked on commercials for about a year, but and I booked maybe the first 2 or 3 auditions, and then after that it was a lot of no. And then I was about to graduate with my MBA, and I'm like, well, I can't just sit around and audition all day, like, without having a real job. So I better go find a TV film agent if I really want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So I sent my headshot out to like 150 agencies, and having no acting experience or expertise, like I hadn't taken any acting classes. I had just worked on commercials. No one wanted to sign me. There was just this one hole in the wall agency who signed me, and she happened to send me on Power Rangers, and I happened to book it. again, after that, it was hard work. It was a lot of no's and a lot of rejection and a lot of, people tearing you down. So, oh no, they said you're not. It's always that you're not enough. It doesn't matter enough of what. You're not tall enough, short enough. You're not curvy enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not Asian enough, not Mexican enough. Like, I'm not even Mexican. Why am I being so offended and hurt by all of this? But it's just constantly that you're not enough. And so you have to really want it and want it. You have to figure out what it is that you want. Like if it's that you love to act, then why aren't you just going and doing like community theater and acting, and acting and things like this? A lot of people say they want to act because they love the craft, but they really just want to be famous.
The fame and fortune. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess that's another path that you take if you just want to be famous. And then with the entrepreneurship, again, it's hard work. It's like takes away from your sleep, especially if you have kids like me. I was telling my daughter the other day because she is starting her own business. She is 11. I was just, I helped her start the thing. She makes the product and then she got some orders and I'm like, okay, this is what you have to do. You have to like pack it. You have to make it look pretty. You have to put this marketing stuff inside. And she's like, oh, like, I just want to make the thing. And I'm like, no, when you're an entrepreneur, it means you basically do everything.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Do everything. Like when I was pregnant and had 2 babies at home, I was packing swimsuits. I was calling my friends. Hey, can you guys come help me? I'll pay you with pizza, middle of the night, just working all night long. And you got to really want it, because if you don't, you're just going to be like, I'm tired and I'm going to go to sleep.
Right.
This isn't worth it.
It'll get done sometime. Yeah.
Yeah. Perseverance in both things, I would say, is the tip. If you want to be an actor or if you want to be an entrepreneur.
I think that's just good life advice, honestly, because
Oh yeah.
anything that you want in life, it's if it's worth having, it's worth working for. And you have to show that level of dedication somewhere, somehow along the way, because if you want to get here, but you're not willing to get past here, no matter what it is, you're going to fail. So,
I mean, nothing is easy. Nothing is going to be handed to you on a silver platter, I guess, unless you're, I don't know who.
Unless you're very independently wealthy and you don't have to work,
Got a couple billion in the pocket there. That
Right.
might help you out.
Bill Gates' kids, if he has any, I think
Right,
they're
exactly.
set, but
like the royal families and,
right. The Gateses and all the other is,
exactly.
Yeah.
But- But the advice of just go for it is fantastic, because from what I find, there's a lot of people who want a thing, but they want to start at like step 20.
Right.
It's like,
Well,
you got
yeah.
to start with step 1 before you get all the way over there.
Right. No. And I mean, the first thing you do is always going to kind of suck. Like
Mhm.
people think that they're going to start out and it's going to be amazing,
Mhm.
I don't know, my friend wants to start a podcast with me and I'm like, I don't know what we're doing, but we just have to do it. And she's like, no, we have to get this equipment. We have to get this, we have to get that. And I'm just like, why don't we just like do it and see, just see what happens, because it's not going to be perfect the first time around. And then, there's always room for improvement. So I don't know. That's just kind of how I am with anything.
Understood.
I feel like I started 5 new companies in the past 3 months. And with most of them, I'm like, I don't really know exactly what I'm doing, but I'm just doing, as long as you get up and make motion.
Keep pushing forward. Yes.
Yeah. You just got to keep going. You got to keep going. And some things are going to fail.
Hmm.
but some things might not. That's why you got to, start 5 and not just 1.
Absolutely. I started podcasting with just an iPhone and holding the speaker microphone right up to my,
Mhm.
that's how I started. I didn't have a boom mic. I didn't have, any other equipment. I didn't have, you know, any fancy editing equipment. I was just doing it all from my iPhone and trying to figure it all out. And that was
Yeah, and
fun.
that might be me in a couple of weeks. Like,
Well,
But hey,
I
now you
can,
have
I
some
can,
friends that can give you some
yeah.
advice.
I'll give you some, I can give you some tips that'll help make it a little easier for you.
I would love it.
But yeah.
There's actually a phrase that I heard not too long ago that is like exemplified by what you're saying. Is I no longer say things like this isn't going to end very well. It's this isn't going to begin very well.
Yeah.
You never know how it's going to end.
Never.
Correct.
I mean, you never know unless you try. So,
yeah,
there you go.
very, very cool. Well, speaking of something that we had to end up trying in my house, I was checking out your Instagram page where you have documented your experience as a homeschooling parent. Now, I
Yes.
wanted to bring this up because, like I said, I find this interesting because my daughter's 16. I homeschool her. Kathleen, who's my co-host, who's not here today. That's why we have the lovely Ben on the screen here. Kathleen has I think Honor is nearly 5. She's right around there. She's somewhere. Yeah, she's in preschool, pre-K, somewhere in that range. But she's just starting her homeschooling journey, and so her and her Kathleen and her husband John are working through that. So my question for you, with that really long rambling introduction, is what is the biggest lesson that you've had to learn as a parent of a homeschooled child?
Patience is key. I lack patience. My
Me
husband
too.
makes up for what I lack. He is the most patient person on the planet, probably. And so my husband obviously works all day long and I'm home with the kids. If there is something that I start to get very frustrated about, I just say, put it aside and your daddy will help you when he comes home. Because I've tried and I start to get really frustrated and I lack, the patience that is necessary. So I am very lucky to have a husband who is willing to help with the homeschooling. Some of my friends, their husbands, it's not really that they're not willing to help, but they just don't have the time
Sure.
to help and to do it. So I feel very blessed that I have that support. But also just a lot of things just don't really matter. Like to teach them certain things, I'm just like, why do you have to learn this? Like, why do the way that we homeschool is it's a lot of reading.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of reading. So I actually barely do anything these days. I'll check the work. I'll, read the compositions. I will edit them. I will listen to, we're doing public speaking right now. I'll listen to all of that. But
Okay.
I just a lot of our homeschool is life skills. Like my kids built a chicken coop with my husband, and
That's awesome.
they're 9, 11, and 12, and they're out there using power tools and measuring and building things. Okay.
Practical experience. That's awesome.
Yeah. Cooking. We do a lot of cooking. Cooking has a lot to do with measurements, with timing, which, a lot of people can't cook because they can't time things well. They'll make one thing and then it sits there and gets cold while they go and make the other thing. They can't multitask and do everything at once. But a lot of our history, we travel a lot. So it'll just be, the first time we ever went to Rome, okay, this is going to be your ancient history. We're going to go to the Colosseum. We're going to, go into all these museums and see all these ruins and, experience all these things in real life so that you can remember it and not just, read it in a textbook, and then memorize it for a test and forget it and, not remember anything when you're an adult.
That's fantastic.
And that's definitely a thing with modern education. Like, if you ask me anything that I learned from school, it's the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, and Columbus sailed the ocean blue, and oh god, yeah, I can't even remember that one. 1492.
1492. Right? Yeah.
There we go. Almost forgot it. But the fact that I can only remember those two things, I guarantee your kids are going to have meaningful life lessons and an education that will last them forever if they physically experience the things they're learning.
Right.
So that's amazing.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
I learn right alongside with them. And another tip I would give for homeschooling parents or people who want to homeschool, because I hear a lot of people, I can't do it. Like, I'm not capable. I'm not smart enough. Or a lot of people will say, I'm going to homeschool until high school because I think I'm smart enough to do that. And then in high school, I won't be able to. But there's nothing wrong with learning right alongside your kids. So, a lot of the things they learn, I'm right there with them. I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Or if they have a question, don't be embarrassed to be like, I don't know, but let's look it up. Let's go get the dictionary, let's find the video and see what this means. So, I mean, we have so many resources nowadays to, you don't have to know everything about everything. You just have to be willing to learn.
See, and that was actually the biggest thing for me. I was scared to death because I'm horrible at algebra. I always have been. I was good with math until the devil put the letters in with the numbers, and then my brain just didn't process it, and it just doesn't work out well for me. Yeah, that might be why I didn't do good with future science classes either. But and so I was honestly very concerned about that. I don't understand this. I don't know that. I don't know this. You don't have to know everything. You know, you have to be willing to A, learn, or B, find someone who does have that skill and can, and so fortunately for me, my wife works at one of the universities nearby. And so we have access to all kinds of tutors and professors and all these different things who are willing to help our kids because they know my wife and they like her, and she's a far more personable person than I am. And so they like her quite a bit. So that's helpful for us. But each one of our kids has had some level of tutoring from somebody at the university.
I mean, if you don't know something, I mean, it's the same thing with, people will put their kids in piano lessons because they don't know how to play the piano, but they want their kid, it's the same thing. Like if you don't know anything about physics or whatever, find someone who does and, and get them to help. And it's been great for us because we just go and learn about everything. There's no limit. There's no we don't really use a curriculum, like a box curriculum or anything. There's no curriculum that we have to be like, okay, these are the things we have to be learning. It's like, no, you know what? We're going to get an aquarium pass this year, and we're just going to go and learn all about everything at the aquarium. And
I absolutely love that.
That's it.
That's fantastic. I wish I had that when I was a kid.
Yeah, I mean, it's so great. And then it's, because we homeschool, we can go when it's not crowded. And, when the kids were really little, we had Disney annual passes and we would just go. We had this app on our phone for plants because Disney has one of the biggest and gardens. And so we would go and just snap all the flowers and be like, oh, what's that? Oh, okay. That's this kind of flower and that's this kind of plant. And it was really cool. And that's just the way, even my sons love bugs. So we were insects. I'm sorry, insects. So we were in Italy. We were in Florence at a cafe, and my friend was just like, my neighbor is an entomologist, and my son was like, oh, I think I want to be an entomologist one day. And she goes, well, let me see if he'll let us come over. So she calls him. We go over to this guy's house, and I've never seen anything like it. This room was just full of dead and alive insects, but in, containers and stuff. And so he just starts like pulling them down, and he spoke English. And like he's just showing them everything. And my sons had these like stick bugs that were like this big crawling all over them, and these like green leafy bugs that looked like little avatar characters like climbing all over them. And I just was like, they were so happy. And I'm like, I'm just going to go downstairs and drink coffee. I have to just like leave this room because I don't need to learn about this. Like you can, and you love it, but I'm going to go drink coffee. So then I went back upstairs, and the entomologist was asking in Italian, because I speak Italian. He's like, do you stay here? Was the verb that he used. And I thought he was asking like, are we staying in that town? And I said, not here in this town, but in the next town over, we're staying. And he goes, oh, okay. So he starts taking down this bin.
Oh no.
And he thought I said that we lived there, that like we lived there. So he starts taking down this bin with giant African snails in them. They're like this big. And he starts,
I know those, they're amazing.
Yeah, he starts like giving one, and I was like, oh no. I was like, no. I said, no, we live in the United States, and I cannot take that on an airplane. I'm like saying all of this in Italian back, but I was like, thank you so much. My sons were so sad. They were, please. And I'm like, how are we going to take a giant African snail? So he gave them many dead insects for their boards at home and their walls. And you see how you have like all the toys back there?
Uh-huh.
My son's room is covered in dead insects.
That was my childhood bedroom. Yeah. I had a pinned up scorpion. I had beetles and everything.
And we have friends all over the world who will like save dead insects for us to, for the next time they see us. And so we have a friend actually it was Danny Jacobs. He used to live in Sedona, and in Arizona, they have all of the crazy, scorpions and tarantulas and all the things. And so he would save them for the boys, and they were just so, so happy. But, it's just one of the things about homeschool that I don't know if other little boys who are in regular schools get to go and play with insects and giant African snails all day long because they want to. Like, I have no idea, but it was just one of those things.
Not a thing.
Yeah.
Can confirm, didn't happen.
My boys were like, he just randomly said it in the cat. I want to be an entomologist. And I'm like, yeah, he does. Like, but that's just, I don't know. It was probably one of the best days of their entire lives.
Now, I have two little micro questions before I get to the actual next question.
Yes.
One, did your kids get a picture with the snail like on their face? Because so many people that find them have that picture.
Not on their face, but I have a funny reel on my Instagram of like normal kids want a cat, like say, I want a cat or a dog. And then it's like my kids. And then they have this like giant.
Give me the snail. I would probably do the same. But the other little question is, the app you mentioned, is that iNaturalist or Seeker? Because those are the apps I use for that.
It was, I don't even remember the name of it. And I probably have it still, but like, it's one of those things I haven't used. So I have to like re-download it. But it's really cool because, I mean, a lot of things it's like, is that poisonous? Like, should we be walking in that? Or because we go hiking a lot. We just go outside a lot because, I feel like kids need to be outside running around and not just sitting at a desk all day long.
Mm-hmm.
I actually almost stepped on a huge snake. And it was terrifying. But my boys, of course, were like, that's not a venomous snake. That's a nice snake. I'm like, it's an 8-foot snake. It's not a nice snake to me.
It is
That's-
nope rope.
That's that's a danger noodle nope rope right there. Yeah.
All right. So enough about all that nerd stuff. We're gonna
Yeah,
get into
sorry.
nerd stuff. So one of the most popular ideas in science fiction is, of course, the crossover. Comic books, other things like that. You have crossovers with the Power Rangers and the Justice League and the Ninja Turtles and Godzilla, just to name a few of the crossovers. So, if you can have Alyssa, the White Tiger Wild Force Power Ranger, your character, crossover with another hero from another universe,
No.
who would it be and what's the mission?
I would have to say Spider-Man because my husband loves Spider-Man. Going back to the bug talk. I know spiders aren't bugs. My sons would get on me for that.
Got my little Lego Spidey. And
Yeah. It would have so on our wedding cake. On our wedding cake, we had Alyssa, my action figure, and a Spider-Man.
That's fantastic.
That is so great.
So
You
I
don't need
awesome.
fancy wedding toppers. You just go to Toys R Us when it existed and just get two action figures. You're done.
Like, why? So I'm sure people were like, "You guys are weird as heck."
I love it.
But anyway, that would be who the crossover would be with. The mission, no idea.
I mean, at that point, if you got Spidey and just like some teenagers with attitude, I don't think there is a mission. I think they're just hanging out.
I think maybe we're homeschooling the world.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, Peter is a chemist, so that makes a lot of sense there.
Yeah, we're teaching the world all about science because Alyssa was like, she studied science and nature in college. So I think it would be a good match.
There you go.
All right, cool.
Oh my God. I am loving this
Jessica.
interview, by
I
the way.
didn't know I was so nerdy before this conversation.
You're welcome. Glad to help you out. All right. So enough about that nerd stuff. We have the next nerd stuff.
A different nerd thing.
A different nerd thing. So our final question, we call it our silly question. You can answer this as serious or as silly as you'd like. And we asked this question because we don't think adults get this question asked of them often enough. It's like, it was cool when you were a kid to get asked this question and then people just stopped. So Jessica Rey, what's your favorite dinosaur?
I don't even, it would have to be one that flies. Which ones fly?
There's a
Pterodactyl?
lot.
Wow, that's just the one I can know of off the top of my head.
Pterodactyls are just kind of scary though. I don't want to be like a scary one. I want to be one that flies because if I'm going to be a dinosaur, I have to, at least have that power. I mean, on Power Rangers, I was my Zord was a tiger, but
Oh, wow, there's way more than I thought there was.
Yeah, there are. How about the Archaeopteryx? That might be a good one.
That sounds amazing to me.
The image doesn't work at all, but
no, I can kind of see it, but it doesn't look terrifying like a pterodactyl.
Well, it says one of the oldest known birds that lived during the late Jurassic era. It was an ancient bird-like dinosaur.
The late Jurassic was about here.
Aha!
Ages of Rock.
I love
There
it.
More nerd shirts. Anyway.
Yes.
Sorry.
Very cool.
So, Jessica, thank you so much for being on our show tonight. Where can people go find you, all your information, any projects you're working on? Please let us know.
You can find me on Instagram. My handle is The Real Jessica Rey, which I know is a horrible handle, but there's a fake one who's just using Jessica Rey, and I'm the real one. So The Real Jessica Rey is me. And I mean, I'm also on Facebook. but I mostly just cross post from Instagram. You can find my swimwear and my clothing at jessicaray.com. And I started making these nerd shirts. I'm wearing one right now. It says Go Go Power Rangers with the physics equation for power. And those are on my Etsy site because, again, it's one of those things that I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to try it. I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to do it. So there's a bunch of nerd shirts on my Etsy site, and the page is Jess My Life, JES, like my name, my life, Jess My Life, on Etsy. And I have a bunch of physics nerd shirts, even for kids.
Very cool.
Probably be there in like 5 minutes to buy one. So expect an order to pop in sometime soon.
Awesome.
But yes, we will be sure to put all those in the links in the description below, so people can find all your other works and all the things you're working on.
Yes,
Excellent.
and I'm gonna be doing a lot more cons this year, so I'm excited to be at Monroe Pop Fest. That's my next one up, and then after that, I think I have like one every month at least.
Very cool. All right. Hey, Ben, real quick, remind everybody where they can find out more about what you're doing out on the interwebs.
Oh, yes. You can find me on TikTok at Hardy_healer. That's Hardy like heart. But I do a whole bunch of stuff on there. Pretty much all my social medias are Hardy_healer. Yeah.
Very cool. All right, guys, I want to remind you that subscribing is the single most important thing you can do to ensure that we get more amazing guests like Jessica Rey here and have some great conversations for you guys to listen to. Now, remember, you're going to be able to meet Jessica in person at the Monroe Pop Fest on September 15th and 16th, 2023 here in Monroe, Michigan. So tickets are available on their website right now. There's some really cool VIP packages for not a whole lot of coins. It's a really cool deal. It's a really cool venue. You guys are going to check that out, and we'll have that website listed down below for you guys so you can pick up your own tickets. But be sure to check out Jessica's swimsuit line, her really cool nerdy shirt line that Ben is going to spend his whole last paycheck on, and you're not going to want to miss the rest of her works as well. Jessica's got really cool stuff out there. But however, if you are not happy with the content of our show today, please do feel free to lodge a complaint with the head of our complaint department, Toxica. Although her schedule is pretty full, trying to undermine Master Org and expose him as a human, she will review your complaint forms, but only if you send 2 copies addressed to the Duchess of Org. We wouldn't suggest calling her grandma either, and not even as a joke. She wasn't a big fan of that, by the way. But if your complaint forms are properly addressed and she's not plotting currently against Master Org, or shooting magic beans from her wand to reform the fallen org, well, then she might just squeeze in a little bit of time and dispatch some of her underlings to handle the source of your complaint. And since Ben is here today as our guest host, we ask that you spare him and go after Kathleen instead for putting him in this position of failure alongside with me.
I think this is a great success. I don't know what
I was talking about me, not you. I'm the failure.
Oh, okay.
It was a chance at self-deprecation. So anyway, thank you, Jessica, for coming on the show. Thank you, Ben, for being here and helping out. And that's going to wrap us up, guys, for the FSF PopCast. Goodbye.
Bye.
Copyright 2023 FSF PopCast. Reference to any specific product or entity mentioned on this podcast does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by FSF PopCast. The views expressed by the guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. If you have any questions about this disclaimer, please contact us via email at info@fsfpopcast.com. Original music by Jordan Michaels.